So what's the real difference between believing something and just, putting on a show? We hear this term sincere faith a lot, but what does it actually mean to be sincere? We're going to unpack that very idea, looking at a really powerful insight from the Apostle Paul that draws a sharp line between authentic faith and just going through the motions.
Okay, so let's jump right into the text that sparks this whole conversation. The Apostle Paul, writing to his good friend Timothy, lays out this incredible idea. He says the entire point of his teaching, the ultimate goal, is love. But it's not just any kind of love. He says it flows from three specific places: a pure heart, a good conscience, and a sincere faith. And that last one, that's our focus today. What in the world is a sincere faith?
Right. Of those three things, it's that last one, sincerity, that's really the key here. Paul presents it as the absolute foundation for everything else. It's the secret ingredient that separates what's real from what's fake. So to really get his message, we have to dig in and figure out what he meant by this one crucial idea.
Now, to really get what Paul's talking about, we've got to travel back in time a bit. He's writing to Timothy, who was leading the church in the ancient city of Ephesus. And let's just say things were not going well. It was a bustling, chaotic place, and Timothy was dealing with a really serious problem from inside the church that was threatening to tear the whole community apart.
So what was Timothy up against? Well, his main job was to confront a group of false teachers. And look, these weren't people with just minor disagreements. Paul says these guys were obsessed with myths and endless, pointless arguments. He paints this picture of arrogant, ignorant leaders who are just in it for the money, and they're creating this totally toxic environment of suspicion and conflict.
So with all that chaos, you think Paul's big instruction to Timothy would be something like, go in there and just shut them down, win the argument. But that is not what he says. His ultimate goal is something completely different. And honestly, it's a little surprising given how messy the situation was.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Just look at the contrast. The false teachers, they were producing envy, strife, suspicion, just total chaos. Paul's response, the entire goal of his command, was aimed at producing just one thing: love. The point wasn't to be right, it was to restore the health of the community through genuine, authentic love. But Paul's not just some idealist, right? He's super practical. He knows that this kind of powerful, community-changing love doesn't just appear out of thin air. He argues that it has to flow from a place of deep inner integrity. It has to come from somewhere real.
So Paul basically breaks down the anatomy of this love. He says it comes from a pure heart, one that's been cleansed, and it's tied to a good conscience, which is all about our actions and how we treat other people. But then he says that both of those things actually depend on something even deeper, a sincere faith. That's the bedrock. That's the foundation holding the whole thing up.
Okay, so that brings us right back to the main event. If everything is built on this foundation, what exactly is sincere faith?
Okay, let's get a little nerdy for a second, because this is cool. The original Greek word Paul used here is enipokrito, and what it means is fascinating. It literally means unhypocritical, unfeigned, or genuine. You see, the root of this word is related to the Greek term for an actor on a stage, someone wearing a mask. So a sincere faith is a faith without a mask.
So what this all boils down to is this: sincere faith is not about looking religious or saying all the right things. It is an authentic, real-deal trust in God. It's a faith that isn't pretending or putting on a show for anyone. It's the real you relying on the real God. No masks.
You know, sometimes the best way to understand what something is to look at what it's not. And luckily for us, Paul gives a perfect example of insincerity in the very people Timothy was dealing with in Ephesus.
So let's just put them side by side. It's a night and day difference, right? Sincere faith is rooted in truth. The false teachers were all about godless myths. Sincere faith is total trust in God. They were just religious pretenders, actors wearing a mask. One approach builds people up. The other just starts useless arguments. It's a total fork in the road. And Paul does not hold back. I mean, listen to how sharp this critique is from another one of his letters. He says, they claim to know God, but by their actions, they deny him. That's it, right there. Their lives are a complete contradiction to the words coming out of their mouths. This is the absolute essence of an insincere faith. It's hypocrisy. All right, so we've looked at the problem in Ephesus, we've defined the term, we've seen what it's not. Let's wrap this up by asking, what does this sincere, unhypocritical faith actually look like in real life?
It really comes down to this. Someone with sincere faith, well, they actually live it. It's way more than just talk. Their life is centered on what's true, not on chasing the latest controversy. They stay away from those pointless arguments that just cause division. They don't try to add to or twist the core message. They just stay rooted in the truth.
So if you put it all together, here's our takeaway. Sincere faith is that deep, total trust and confidence in God. But, and this is the key, it's not just a feeling you keep to yourself. It's a trust that's so real it can't help but show up in your actions, shaping how you live and ultimately how you love.
And that really leaves us with a bigger question to chew on, one that goes way beyond theology, right? In any area of our lives, our work, our relationships, our values, how do we tell the difference between what's a genuine belief and what's just a performance? What's real and what's just a mask?